Frank Yosa here, CEO of Ketone, just dropping off the kids to bike class, and thought it'd be a good time to do something that's been on my mind for a while, which is talking about whether to use a ketone ester while first entering a ketogenic diet, so trying to get into ketosis for the first time in particular. And the short answer is no, I don't suggest it, and I'll explain why. So I do not recommend using the ketone ester when first trying to get into a ketogenic diet because it is too difficult. There's so many variables for doing the ketogenic diet correctly, especially the first time, that I just don't want to be associated with that. There's too many problems. People get the keto flu. I mean, there's ways around it, and you can Google it, and I can try and help you walk. I can try and walk you through it, but it's just, if you get the keto flu, which I'll help you try to avoid, if you get the keto flu and you take the ketone ester, you're gonna think, oh, well, it's this ester that's making me sick. And my wife, when she got the keto flu, was in a fetal position in bed, crying with her heart racing and a headache and just like wanting to go to the hospital. So I don't wanna be associated with that. Now, maybe in the future, we'll have a 30-day program, step-by-step guide, eat this, drink this, and have a perfect solution for people. But right now, that's just not it. And you don't need it. You don't need it. You can just do regular, you don't even need MCT oil. Just do regular 80% fat, 15% protein, 5% carbs, which sounds crazy, but until you watch 5 different videos of people explaining the same thing, will you be able to take a leap to try it out. And do that 5 to 10 day transition period to get into ketosis is also tough. You'll be dragging, and people tell you about this nirvana that's on the other side, and half the people probably give up and can't make it through. Now, the number one reason for doing the number one mistake that people do trying to do a ketogenic diet for the first time is salt. Lack of salt. So I won't get into the science. I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor, so I won't get too scientific, but every molecule of glycogen, sugar, in your system holds 3 parts water. So when you deplete your body of glycogen, of sugar, of carbs, your body just gets flush of water. So people love the ketogenic diet. Why? Because they think that they're losing 5 to 7 pounds in the first few days. Now that's true technically, but it's water. Now it's great to lose water too, because you'll be less puffy and things might fit better, but it's still water. But with that water goes massive amounts of electrolytes. I'm not talking about like, oh, I'll just put a little bit more salt on my eggs. And I'm vegan, but to each his own. If you're putting salt in your food, no, I'm talking about unscrewing the top of the salt container and getting that quantity of salt. So you have to replenish with salt, massive amounts of salt. Now, go to a doctor and find out, and go to a doctor website, find out exactly the amount, because the numbers are so high that I don't want to be the one that's quoted on that. But I mean, I take a few salt pills that are mainly sodium, and then a few potassium pills in the morning, and then at nighttime I take magnesium. You know that you particularly have a problem if you're lightheaded and if you get muscle cramps, particularly at night. I like to take magnesium at night because it helps put you to bed, as opposed to the sodium and potassium helps start your day and make your system electric. You need electrolytes, salt, to conduct electricity in your system. So that's the number one reason. Number one mistake. The number 2 mistake is people eating too much protein. That's called Atkins, completely different thing. If you have too much protein, think of it as buckets: an 80% bucket of fat, 15% bucket of protein, 5% bucket of carbs. And if you pour too much into that 15% protein bucket, it overflows into carbs. Okay, so that's the second biggest mistake. People think, oh, this is easy, I'll just eat a bunch of carbs. So how do you get that much fat in? Lots of avocados, lots of what they call good oils, coconut oil, olive oil. Just avoid vegetable oil, Crisco or whatever, canola oil, avoid those. So lots of oil. And let's see what else. You got the big pitfalls are salt, too much meat, and this keto flu, you can also do bouillon cubes, and some people do bone broth, but again, not my thing. And a serving of bouillon might have 900, 800 milligrams of salt, of sodium salt in particular. So you just need massive amounts of salt. I even knew one person who went to the hospital, 92 years old. Her doctor told her to go keto, and she was in the hospital a couple of days later, and they couldn't figure out for 2 hours what it was. And I told her, oh, I can tell you what it was. And she's like, how could you tell me what it was? It took them 2 hours, they're PhDs and or whatever, medical doctors. I said, it was lack of sodium. You didn't tell them that you were going keto. You didn't think it mattered. She's like, oh my God, yeah. They came back and they said, you're just low on sodium, ma'am. And they put her on a sodium drip, and she was fine. So massive amounts of salt. And salt is not just sodium. People think of the word salt, they think of just sodium. Salt is sodium, potassium, magnesium, and calcium. But people, for the most part, I don't know about having to take extra calcium. I don't do that, but some people might. So back to the ester. So it's just too many variables. So before we go to the ester, sorry, when you enter into the ketogenic diet, part of it is what happens is your brain has less glucose to run the brain, but the ketones haven't come up yet. So you've got depleting glucose fuel for the brain, and the ketones in your system, naturally, endogenously created by burning your own fat stores, hasn't come up yet. So there's a couple techniques that I learned. One I heard from third hand through Ryan Lowry, which is get on a bicycle or do some sprints to burn up that glycogen reserve. So the glycogen is just for that super fast fuel. So if you do like wind sprints or hill runs and deplete that real quickly, then the ketones have to kick in because, hey, you've got no more glucose storage. So that's one way. And so you can get back into ketosis faster that way. So when you take ketone ester, it's really confusing. You might, take the drink and it technically be on your blood, actually for any exogenous ketone. And there's a video that you want to watch called, ketone salts versus ketone ester. It explains why people like the ketone salts upon entering into a ketogenic diet. And what I explain is, it's the salt. It's not the ketones so much, it's the salt and the caffeine. They put a lot of caffeine in that stuff so that you think that you feel something. That's not the feeling. The feeling is the opposite. The feeling is a calm energy, not a jittery energy. So people like the ketone salts because of the massive salt load. If I told you to take 20 salt pills, you'd think it's crazy. But if I told you to take one packet of ketone salts, that would be the same as the 20 salt pills. But make sure you watch that video to fully understand, likely be able to save money. When you take any of these exogenous ketones, ketone salts or ketone esters, they're all under the umbrella of exogenous, meaning externally drank dranken ketones. When you do that and you've got blood ketones, it does not mean you're burning fat. Sorry, everyone wants a pill, a shortcut. Just don't go that way. That means that you drank ketones and it went to your blood. You're not burning fat. If anything, you're actually technically stopping fat, which is fat burning, which is gonna freak you out. But there's other videos that explain. Don't worry. Net in the end of the day, it helps with appetite suppression and other things. Even though we don't sell it as a weight loss supplement, my wife says we can't sell it as a weight loss supplement until she loses weight on it. So that's not our focus, but people do use it for that. So back to the ester for entering in the first time. It's just too risky, too many variables. You don't get enough salt, you're sick. The 2 or 3 returns that I've had were people that asked me straight out of the gate, what is the ketogenic diet, and just wanted me to explain it from the beginning. And it's just too much. I think from now on, at least at first, I'm going to send people, go on a deep dive, go spend 5 hours. Don't look for shortcuts. Don't buy these keto pills from Shark Tank. They don't exist. It's fake. Mark Cuban posted about it, even made a website, but I can't even remember the website address, showing that is a scam. You don't need any supplements. You don't need MCT oil, super strong MCT oil. That's kind of like an exogenous ketone. You're drinking the ketone, so it's not necessarily making you burn fat faster. Just liquid coconut oil, olive oil, and I think a lot of green veggies. And you don't count the fiber. That's the third mistake people do. When for the most part, it's called net carbs. If you have total carbs, it might be 15 for broccoli, but it's 10, 11, and I don't know the exact number of fiber. Then you subtract it. So that's the net carbs in there. So you can still have veggies, which is micronutrients that you want. But back to the ester. So you could technically use the ester to help with the brain that has a lack of fuel and it's going up, but I just don't recommend it because it's it's a shortcut that's just got too many other complications. Just go through it the first time, maybe the second and third time, now that you experienced it, went through the pitfalls, then you can incorporate, ketone ester with the 1 meal a day program, or intermittent fasting, where you can just take 5 mLs in the morning for women, or 10 mLs in the morning for men, and that'll suppress your appetite until maybe 12, 1, or 2 p.m. You can have some food there, or go all the way straight to lunch, or take a second amount. But I do not recommend it, highly do not recommend it the first time around. You can do it with food. Just go to Whole Foods or any grocery store. Liquid coconut oil, the super cheap Carrington Farms, Amazon, 2 pounds for like 14 bucks. I mean, I put that stuff on everything. I'm gonna also be doing a video on the different types of liquid coconut oil and MCT oil and the hard kind of oil, so make sure to watch that. Make sure to subscribe. I don't know where the button's gonna come up, but hopefully a subscribe button will come up, and subscribe, because you'll find information here that you're not gonna find anywhere else. So yeah, I'll conclude with, don't use ketone esters the first time trying to enter into a ketogenic diet, but keto is not required for the ketone ester to work. All right, bye-bye.